Here we go. Oh, now we're here.
I may have said that too soon.
We're here. We're live. What's going on? Make sure that we had the audio here. As you can tell, there is no Michael Tool this week. I have a nice temporary guest.
We'll take
temporary host.
Better than not hosting at all.
Who knows? Maybe you'll replace Mike. But welcome to Mohawk Table Talk, where we are bringing you automotive news that's local to you and keep you update on the market and maybe answer any questions that you might have. I'm gonna do my little spiel here. With shorter days, declining rates, winter fast approaching, it's a big season for upstate New York drivers. Today we will dive into everything you need to know, from road safety during deer season to EV charging expansion and some great year-end deals, along with a hot button issue at our Honda store, which is recalls. People think their car is going to blow up. Not exactly true. But we'll get to that in just a moment. Welcome. Today, this is Justin McGrath, one of the sales managers here. And
hello, everybody.
Our resident expert that is going to talk about all things recalls, Anita.
Hi.
So before we get into the recalls, which is definitely going to be that hot button issue, if you have any questions, throw them in the comments below. We will get to them. We are on every Tuesday, 12:30, except for today. It was a little later than that, but we are getting closer to a 12:30 start time.
It's good to have a goal.
We will get there. We will get there, I promise. But starting off in local news, it's deer season.
It is.
So there's a few things that people should, take heed or take warning of. Obviously, there are things you can do to kind of reduce the probability of you running into a deer.
Yeah, that's absolutely true.
One thing is definitely watch rural areas. Headlights on, make sure you're paying attention. I know everybody can get distracted out there.
Yeah,
now is not the time to be distracted, especially during dawn and dusk. But yeah, have you seen any deer out yet?
Yeah, I mean, I live in a place where there's a big field across the street, and this is like prime season. You know, Bambi's out with mom and dad frolicking around, getting a snack. You don't want to be zipping up and down the road, tick-tocking, going 55 and just, off in a family member. Better yet, you don't want to be, roasting your hood and your bumper and your headlight. So just be attentive, like you were talking about. Being aware of what's going on is 95% of it. There's always going to be an accident, but a lot of deer strikes, if you talk to anybody at a collision center, they're avoidable, right? They happen when we're going too fast, when we're not paying attention. If we don't have our lights on at dusk and don't have proper visibility, just pay attention, be aware of your surroundings, and make sure that you do everything you can to just keep yourself and your family out of trouble. I mean, there's plenty of deer. We got a bunch of salespeople talking around. They're up there now, pitch black in the morning, and the tree stands ready to go. Tis the season, but they're out in droves. So just be mindful when you're driving. Don't put yourself in a high-risk situation. A lot of the accidents are controllable. We get caught up in our phone. We get caught up in our music. We get caught up in maybe going a little too fast because we're in a hurry to get to our 12:30 podcast that started at 12:45. But whatever it is, take your time. I promise it's better to be a little bit late or to get to your media or your text message a little bit later than it is to have, Bambi's mom in your front seat as your passenger. Nobody wants that. Nobody needs that.
So maybe next week we'll get Jerry Rosenbacher from the Collision Center to kind of talk about some of the things you could expect in case this does happen. But we do have Mohawk Collision Center, which is has over 20 certifications. So if there is any incident where Bambi's mother is sitting in your passenger seat coming through the windshield, we'll get some information out there. But make sure you check out Mohawk Collision Center. Moving on. I don't know if you've seen this yet, but Amtrak just made an announcement. They are actually decreasing the amount of service between upstate New York and New York City starting November 11th.
Yeah.
Have you seen that?
I have. They can't keep the trains full. Same thing with airplanes, right? So you look at flights, they're more expensive, there's fewer of them. It's all about how people are choosing to travel, which is tough.
Yeah, so with that being said, there will be some probably there will be more necessity to kind of strategically plan if you're mom or dad are coming from the city, or you're coming up from the city to come visit them. There might be more delays, things like that. Or maybe you plan on actually taking the trip yourself down to New York City. There's a few things you should check before you're doing these long travels. So make sure you take a look into that. And if you have any questions, obviously our service drive is always here to help out. And Anita could probably speak to some of the things that they're seeing in the service drive as of late in terms of maybe service precautionaries that people are taking. Can you kind of speak a little bit to that?
This time of year, everybody's tire pressure goes up and down and needs to be constantly,
Love those lights.
needs to be adjusted. And as much as we love technology, we're always reminded of, oh, hey, you need to put more air in your tire at this time of the year. So for every 10 pounds that are every 10 degrees that the air pressure changes, your tire pressures need to be adjusted for a pound. So if they were last checked and adjusted during the summertime and it was 80 degrees, today's not a good example, but if you're waking up and it's 30 degrees out, that 50-degree change, you might have to adjust your tire pressures 4 to 5 pounds. And if your light's on, just drive right into our service area. You don't need an appointment. We have plenty of people that are available and will assist you to get your car in and that done. That's usually the biggest number one thing that we see every fall. And sometimes it's a matter of you're waking up and with that cold temperature changes, sometimes your car doesn't start. And we start running into a no-start issue. Sometimes the car has been driven for a while, maybe took the train to New York City, took a trip, went on vacation, and sometimes it's just a matter of needing to get your battery tested or replaced, depending on the time of year.
Now, is it a good idea if my tire light comes on to be driving around in the cold with low tire pressure?
No, most important thing is that you're actually stopping, doing a visible check, and make sure none of your tires are low. But, if you need to get to a destination where you can get to a gas station or drive into us and be able to fill your tire up. But you don't, if you physically see that your tire is very low, you don't want to drive on it because you could risk the availability of actually damaging it, which could, instead of just going to that tire needing to be inflated and could be patched to full replacement, which sometimes just drives the cost up. So anything that we can do to try to pay attention to those lovely dash lights we have on too.
So don't put electrical tape over that on my dash light.
No, not anymore.
No.
Don't just press the reset button. No, don't hold it for 30 seconds, turn the car off, turn it back on. This is a proper time to give a shout out to the local Stewarts because there is free air there.
Yeah.
So one of the best perks of Stewarts, besides the ice cream that everybody likes to go to, head over to and grab the air unless you have your own air compressor, or stop in here. We're more than willing to help out. And more than willing to help out brings us to my next point is all the events that we have going on.
We are booked.
This is the time of year where everybody's like, let's do something, everyone's back home from vacation, like, you know what, it's time. Let's get together. Let's throw a bajillion events, and of course, we're like, yeah, let's do them all. So there's a bunch of different events. If you'd like to get involved with them, you can always check our social medias. We're always posting about what we're doing in the community, what's coming up. So the first thing that's really coming into fruition right now is the collaboration with Pastor Charlie and Victory Church. We're giving away a Camaro. Does anyone know? I was trying to figure out what's the year on that thing. Do we know?
Isn't this Pastor Charlie's actual car?
I think it's 2001, if I'm not mistaken.
It's his personal car he's doing.
2001 Chevrolet Camaro. He's donating it. It's $50 per ticket, 3 tickets for $100, and our goal is 1,000 tickets.
Ooh.
That's what I heard.
Good goal.
That's what I heard. Our goal is 1,000 tickets, and we can all do that. So make sure you like and share this post and let people know that we're trying to get these out here. Obviously, more to come. We'll have some additional posts coming up. So make sure when you see them, like and share them so we can get this out. And all of this is going to benefit local foster kids in the local area to help them honestly have a better life and to kind of give them a sense of confidence. We've been able to go where Pastor Charlie has had the opportunity to bring these foster kids in. He has this kind of like a store for them that gives them their own shoes, clothes, backpack, little things like that to make them feel welcomed and just appreciated, which they absolutely are. So make sure you tune into that as we develop this. We're going to try to get Pastor Charlie in here. The end date for this, I believe the pulling of the tickets is going to be January 6th.
Yes.
So be on the lookout for that.
And also, too, there's a QR code. You don't even have to leave your house. You can do it right now if you decided you wanted to buy a ticket and were interested.
Yeah, we'll send the link. We'll put the link in the show notes so you can donate to that and get your tickets. Next thing is in both of our, and that's happening between Mohawk Chevy, that's the whole Mohawk Auto Group, along with the food and hygiene drive going on at both stores that's going to benefit Christ Episcopal Church in Boston Spa. We are looking for lots of hygiene items, lots of food items. We'll get those up on our socials for you, but it's the basics, non-perishable, canned, and boxed items, along with some other things. You know, we've been able to do this so many times.
Really cool.
And every single time, and you guys can speak to it as we talk further, but one of the things that we get constantly from any food pantry that we donate to is that we bring in things that they can't necessarily get from, whether they're buying from the regional food bank or other donations. Typically what we bring in, maybe it's a mac and cheese, or maybe it's a cookie, or something that we really like. That goes a long way when someone comes in and it's not just the same old that they're getting.
Yeah.
Well, and sometimes we just take for granted, too, just the simplicity of just getting up and just grabbing our own toothbrush. You know, not everybody has availability to proper hygiene items and shampoo and conditioner and deodorant, just those basic everyday things that we just, don't look past that, they're also looking for donations as well.
Yeah, the little things in life make the biggest differences, right?
Yeah.
Anything that makes us, normalizes our day is a huge benefit to all of us. So we have drop-off locations here and also at the Chevy store, Nate, or just here?
Yep, at the Chevy store as well.
So drop-off locations at both stores. So if you have the ability to donate anything, it can be a can, a toothbrush, a toothpaste, anything that you can give. I mean, this goes a long way. We're fortunate. We did the drop-off this spring, and to see how far these donations go and how many people it impacts and influences is a big deal. So I really encourage anybody, if you can give something, Mohawk Honda, Mohawk Chevy, multiple drop-off locations, it goes to a phenomenal cause. And again, to normalize somebody's day, to have the ability to get up and have something that is theirs, or be able to provide, nourishment for themselves as a family, huge deal. So if you can, please do.
Absolutely. And it doesn't have to be anything crazy.
No.
$10, $20, that's it. That's all. If everyone can do a little bit, it makes a huge impact.
100%.
Speaking of a huge impact, we are making a big wave at the Schenectady Parade this year. That's coming up November 23rd. I believe that they said the trailer is coming into Mohawk Collision Center, where we will be building this monstrosity of a 60-foot trailer. We're going big or going home this year, and it's going to be epic.
Yeah, I didn't think they would be able to top last year when they had it in our service area. And they were like working on it and painting it for like weeks on end. There's people out there doing like full-on construction projects. Like, I think Scott Anderson was like the general contractor of the thing. Like, it was insane. But this year, being at the Collision Center, I'm actually a little bit worried because we have some extremely talented people up there. I can't even fathom what they're going to put together. I can see Jerry just as Santa with like a present cannon hanging off because like, I have no idea.
Like a t-shirt gun?
Exactly. Like, who knows what's going to happen?
All right, we're putting this in there. Show notes, Greg, and the general managers. We need a t-shirt gun. Yeah. Maybe we'll just borrow Albany Firebirds. I've seen it at their show. Albany Firebirds, come on down. But yeah, I can't wait. I'm going to be DJing off the platform, and actually, I will also be DJing the same day, which is also in my notes, the Special Olympics Polar Plunge, which will be happening that same day from 8 to 2, 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. Then I'll be driving down to get my gear set up on the float for that day, for that night. It's going to be rocking.
Yeah.
I can't wait. So those are just some of the events we have going on. Make sure you check those out on our pages and look forward to all of that.
Yeah, look forward to hypothermia.
Yeah, it's gonna be
We've
great.
had great years.
I might jump in.
I've gone multiple years. We've had some great years.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think last year was wicked cold. I don't think I was able to touch because my DJ boards have like the metal spindle on them, so I wasn't even like able to touch them because they were just so cold on my hands. But we made it work.
I love that.
We had snow last year for the first time, so it was very magical. Our float.
I think honestly, there's so much news going on here, and we talked about the interest rates last week a little bit.
Yep.
With Tony Riano. If you want to go check on that, if you want to learn more about that, I don't know if you've seen anything since we've talked about this, but what do you know that's going on so far?
Yeah, I mean, September was the first time that the Federal Reserve, or the Fed as people like to call it for short, first time in 4 years, they actually lowered interest rates by 50 basis points. And the Fed's going to be meeting again in November, and they're expecting a similar reduction. So what that means for our business, for consumers, is more affordable loans, right? More affordable loans trickles down to everything, right? Because the lower the cost of interest is, the lower the cost, generally, other goods and service follow. Mm-hmm. And Honda's been great as a partner, their financial services brand. This is the first time since before the pandemic, we're talking like 2019, we're seeing rates from Honda on certain makes and models 0.9%. 1.9%. This is
I remember those days.
Yeah, this is stuff that we haven't been able to offer in 4 or 5 years because Honda followed, the first markdown for the Fed, and they're being proactive with the expected news upcoming here in November and offering some really aggressive discounted auto loans for consumers, which is great to have them as a partner because if you look at like regular commercial banks, right now, like the 6-year loan average is still like in the 6.5% range. So Honda's so far ahead of the curve. It's really cool to see. And it's nice for all of us to have a little relief from what we've experienced the past 4+ years.
Yeah. So what are we seeing right now in terms of like lease specials and things like that? What are like some of the major highlights that we're seeing here at Honda?
So for Honda, I mean, the push to EV is remarkable. Honda has so many programs affiliated with the new Prologue in their in electrifying their fleet. We have a touring Prologue right now with no money down, just your regular lease startups, like your taxes, your fees, and your first payment, for $289 a month on a car that has an MSRP north of $50,000. So if you try to rationalize that, like this car is over $50,000. I'm paying my tax, my first payment, my DMV, and my acquisition fee to Honda just to start the lease. I'm not giving them any money towards the car. Right. And I'm driving this thing for $289 a month. And Honda has 3 different charging packages as well that you can choose from included in the purchase.
Wow.
So like a home charging credit, a portable charger with a charging credit, or you can just take a big old charging credit. If you don't want to electrify your home, you can take a bulk charging credit and drive around and charge everywhere else. You can use our chargers or a supercharger and just have a prepaid card that comes with the cost of the car.
So what would that normally look like if someone was to finance or lease a $56,000 Prologue? What, in terms of a lease payment, would they typically pay?
I mean, typically, if you're looking at a $50,000 plus car, you're going to be looking at $1,000 a month with nothing down.
Wait, what?
Exactly, right? Like you think like, oh, that's crazy, but it typically follows like your monthly payment with nothing down follows a percentage of the MSRP. It used to be back when I started selling cars, when you were probably cloning because you're half my age. So it used to be like, oh yeah, 1% of the MSRP is a great lease deal. So if you saw a $30,000 car, you knew a great lease deal was $300 a month. Unfortunately, in the over 2 decades I've been selling cars, that has more than doubled. So now if you see, like if you look at a Civic, it's like a $24,000 car, you expect, okay, so 2% of that is $480 with nothing down.
Right.
That's a good lease deal in a modern market. So it's changed so much in the way people perceive it, but there's still so much more value there than there is financing, shorter term commitment, lower cost of interest because your money factor is regulated to those 36 months as opposed to stretching it out over a longer term of the loan. And you get more car with more options, with more warranty for your usage than you would buying a car over a long term. So there's just so many lease benefits now. That's why the majority of our customers and Honda customers in general choose to lease their new vehicles because of the value added proposition that's there with the savings, with the security, with that first year of maintenance, with the Honda factory warranty covering 3 years of the car. It just all lines up.
And I also have in my show notes here, we've talked about this probably ad nauseum, and everybody's talked about this as soon as EVs have come out, is that EV range anxiety.
Yeah.
But New York State is talking about expanding the EV charging options. They're doing it constantly throughout the New York region, obviously. But there's no reason at this point for someone to really be scared about your EV not finding a place to charge, especially in New York.
No, and with electrification, preparation, like anything we do, is everything, right? Like, think of any road trip you ever had. Like, what did mom and dad do before you left the house, right?
They got the map out.
They'd get the map out. Mom would make sure everything was packed, and dad would make sure the car was full of gas with an oil change, right?
Yep.
It's the same thing nowadays. Like, we're not changing the oil and making sure the car's full of gas. But if you have an EV and you're planning a road trip, make sure it's charged. Not just your supercharge option of 80%, but you can switch modes, like specifically in the Prologue, and you can get from 80 like all the way up to 95% charge. I just took a Prologue for a couple of days, and I took it up to SPAC, and I didn't even know there's electric car charging club at SPAC. News to me. If you guys are out there, if we met, it was a pleasure meeting you. You educated me a ton on electric cars, so thank you so much. But like, I drove all around, like, and I live up in Ballston Lake, so it's a good drive from here in Scotia to my house. So I drove from here to Ballston Lake, up to Saratoga. My wife and I took the car all around to dinner, to a show, like, and I think I used like 40 miles of range over 3 days. I was blown away because my perception is, oh, when I have the radio on, when I have the heat on, the heated seats on, I'm going to drain this sucker. And I got my phone in the wireless charging. I was like, I'm going to see how quick I can drain the sucker down. And the way that range is advertised and the way that range is consumed is so different than I had envisioned it. So it's really about experiencing it for yourself and not just going with the noise of what you hear.
I think I was most blown away by just actually sitting in it for the first time. I had a completely different expectation of what the Prologue was going to be, and I was absolutely blown away by the panoramic roof, how nice the seats felt, how much room you felt that you had. Like, they did a fantastic job when they rolled this out.
And when somebody tells you the single pedal driving is just like a golf cart, that's not true. Holy smokes, I almost put my head through the windshield when I just completely let off the gas and that thing like, I was like, holy smokes. Yeah. So single pedal driving, accelerate, putting the pedal down, and as you release it, the car slows itself, and then it starts to brake itself. So you actually have to you have to be aware right, of what you're doing, and you have to have some practice because, it took me a good 15, 20 minutes to understand what the car and what the pedal were doing in relationship to one another.
Right.
And they have different sensitivities. Whoever used it before me had it on high. God bless them. I gave that thing a rip. I was like, what is going on? How do I drive this thing? But a few minutes, figured it out. It was actually really fun, to not have to use my brake foot at all. I was like, this is so different. And yes, the car comes to a complete stop, which I was blown away by with the single pedal driving. Pretty cool.
So many different features, especially when it comes to EV vehicles, especially on the Prologue. At Chevrolet, they have 3. They have the Blazer, the Equinox, and the Silverado. Loaded. And the crazy part is that when you drive the Silverado, it's a truck. Mm-hmm. You expect it to, either it's not doesn't just all torque.
Yeah.
All torque. And it's just a fun driving experience. And for everyone who's like, oh my God, they're trying to get us into EV, ICE is going to be around, aka internal combustion engines will still be around. Those aren't going anywhere. This is just an opportunity to have a different style of vehicle. And if you're not driving that much, and even if you are, but specifically for those that only drive to the classic, work, church, and the grocery store that we all used to say, it's a perfect option for you, and you won't even miss a beat.
No, I was shocked how much I enjoyed driving it, frankly, because I'm an internal combustion engine guy. I grew up working on old cars with my dad when they actually had a rotor and a distributor cap and spark plug wires, and you actually had to use a timing light. Imagine that, a flashing light to tune your engine. I know, no computers, crazy stuff. But to go from that as a kid to where we are now in my life is really neat to see. And I was blown away at how much I actually appreciated the technology once I actually started to use it. Because like you said, I'm one of those old hats, like an automotive purist. Like, I need oil, I need gas, I need spark, I need a big boom inside of I want a piston hitting a spark plug, and I want a big bang. Don't need it. Thought I did. Maybe I don't.
No, maybe
I'm not
not.
ready to make the change myself yet, but my car is already a mild hybrid, so I feel like I'm like
You're
closer
inching
to
in
the line.
there. You're inching in there.
Baby steps.
Well, with technology does come a lot of maybe possibly safety hazards and possibly recalls on vehicles. And we're going to talk a little bit about that because you might have seen in the news that there are a lot of recalls, especially, what was that one I have written down?
High pressure
Fuel pump, where people think their car is going to explode. Well, let's debunk that. Let's demystify this. And that's why we have a resident expert, Anita. What can you tell us about these going on?
I can tell you that it is definitely a hot topic, and really any recall that gets announced, it all of a sudden becomes a hot topic immediately, because all we think is, okay, is my car affected? If it's not good, we all have that sigh of relief. But if my car is, now what do I do? Like, we're sitting on edge, and we all think that our car's unsafe to drive. No, it's not. Is the possibility of failure there? That's why immediately, even if parts aren't available, the National Transportation Safety Board mandates every manufacturer, not only Honda, but every manufacturer, to say, hey, there's a recall that's coming out on your car, so that you're aware of it. We are aware of it. And so with the high pressure fuel pumps, unfortunately, Honda's actually working on allocating and getting parts together so that they can notify everybody when that happens. But with any recall on your car, it's always going to be VIN specific, almost like your social security number for yourself. So we can always check now or anytime, and every single time that you come in for service, we always check to see if you have open recalls and make sure we're having those open conversations with you of saying, hey, do you know that you've got a high pressure fuel pump recall on your car? No, I don't. Okay, well here's what you need to know. And just go through those basic steps. Or if it's on another vehicle and you have a different recall that's there, that we can actually say, hey, if it's something we can take care of and you've got the time, we're going to do that for you. And if parts are available, and some recalls that are out there are just a simple inspection. So depending on what those are, but if you have concerns as far as if your vehicle's affected, you can look it up online, or you can give us a call and we can run your VIN. And we can let you know where you are at and how many recalls you may have on your car. And maybe it's even been a while. Maybe you have an old car parked in your driveway that you haven't even thought of, that somebody gave you and you acquired. And now it's a matter of, hey, I didn't even think for a while that I should actually check to see if that's got an open recall, because I haven't brought that into the dealer for a while. So,
it makes me think of, like, when you see the prescription commercials and they're going over every single symptom that could possibly happen because it happened to one person or two people. That's kind of how I feel like recalls are. It's like, well, it could happen. It happened to a few people, and it might be specific to you, but let's take a look. Let's see what's going on.
And if your vehicle's symptomatic, we're going to invite you in or if you think that your car might be having a symptom, then we're going to invite you in regardless of what that recall is to look at it until we can actually determine, is your car okay or not okay? And that just goes across the board as far as, if parts are available. If parts aren't available, as it is with this high pressure recall, as soon as parts are available, Honda's going to notify the registered owner of the car and send out a notice and say, hey, bring your car in and we can get you taken care of.
Yeah, well, with the high pressure recall, if I understand correctly, it's only on certain engine types, right? It's not like a universal thing.
Correct.
Because only certain engines utilize the high pressure fuel pump.
Correct.
So just because you have a Honda doesn't mean you're going to have a fuel pump recall. You have to have a very specific type of engine and a certain fuel pump to qualify for this. So it's not like this big global thing that is getting blown out of proportion to be.
Right. I mean, there is also a low pressure fuel pump recall that affects multi-models as well. So that one is more older vehicles. And depending on the vehicle, parts are available in limited supply or not available yet. But Honda's also working on sourcing those. But again, it's just going to make a difference as far as what kind of vehicle you own and if your car's affected. But we can always check.
Well, we are the doctors and surgeons here, and we will look at the vehicle and the symptoms that it has, and we will make sure that Anything that's necessary will get fixed and replaced so that it is working properly for you. Man, we talked about a lot in such a little bit of time.
Yeah, that flew by.
From
Definitely.
low interest rates to situations that make you say, oh dear, EV infrastructure and recalls. We've talked about so much here on Mohawk Table Talk. Thank you to my esteemed guests here on the show. We'll bring you back, I promise. But thank you so much for watching. Again, if you have any questions on anything that we talked about, throw them in the comments below. Maybe you think that your Honda may have a recall on it. Check in with us. Call our service advisors. They're the doctors. We got the surgeons in the back to take care of all the problems. And we'll make sure that you guys are up and running. So thank you so much for watching. Again, this is Mohawk Table Talk, where every Tuesday at 12:30, we bring local automotive news to you so you know what to do.
12:30-ish.
Ish.
Thank you.